Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in to the 11th episode of In the Corners. We have a
Right
super
on.
exciting and positive episode for us Vikes fans, but also for BCIHL fans because it has been a
Yes.
little bit of statement matchups over the last weekend and some crazy results came about. So we're going to get right into that. Matt, how you doing today?
Hey, Reese. I'm doing well. Good to be with you. Well, Tuesday morning, I woke up, but there was some snow on the trees. The seasons are changing, and the season is changing around for these BCIHL teams. I got my stick on the ice. I'm ready to go. Look for me. I'll be on the slot, ready for a one-timer, Reese.
Yeah, just like the
Let's have
Vikes
some
were.
fun.
Right? Just like the Vikes were this weekend. Friday,
Yes.
November 25th, SFU faced off against the Logan Lake Miners, and they're the expansion team. There's the expectations for this team is just simply get familiar and understand the game pace of the BCIHL. And let's just say it's been a little bit of a brutal run for this Logan Lake Miners team, but it's also no reason to panic if you're a Miners fan. They take an 8-0 loss to the powerhouse team of the SFU Red Leafs, but to be fair, a little less goal scoring than the Vikes did. They take the 11-0 win and they take the 8-0 win. So a little bit of a difference there. But Matthew Enns, he faced 39 shots, 8 goals against, 830 save percentage. So, not the best, but we do think he's good. He's been put through a lot, and I think he's going to be a tough customer come a couple years from now. He's really going to be seasoned in between the
That's
pipes for that
right.
minors team. Yep. Cale Dolan, I mean, he gets that shutout. He didn't get tested very much, 15 shots. Not the most, but 36 penalty minutes for the Logan Lake Miners. I mean, got to stay out of that box. Not going to help you given that unbelievable power play
That's a
led by.
significant stat right there.
Yeah. Hey, maybe the first two periods, gave us a
Yeah.
different idea of what that game was going to result as. But at the end, you could see by the score line it was not very close.
The Miners
Yeah.
are looking for their signature game. You know,
Okay.
they're
Yes.
showing up each game. They're looking for that one game where everything aligns for them and they can take a
Everything works
bite.
out.
Yeah, they can take a bite out of these guys. Hasn't happened yet, but it might happen. You keep watching.
Hopefully.
Every team will have their moment of the season. Shout out to
Yes.
Paler Chow with the hat trick. Nice
He's a
going.
great defenseman. Oh wait, no, he might be a forward. I'm thinking of their defenseman, Chu. He's very good. Yeah, he probably had a good game, I'm sure, if we looked at the scoreline. But moving on to the most exciting thing that I wanted to get into, which me and Matt were privileged to had called this game live at the Ian H. Stewart Complex. The 25th, the Vikes faced off against Cross Island rivals VIU Mariners, and they came home, or they left home, I guess you could say, with a 4-1 win. Matt, right off the bat, I want to hear what your take is on this huge win for the Vikes.
The UVic Vikes were hosting the Mariners there. Going into the game, UVic was 1-3 on the season. VIU 4-1 with one overtime loss. So the Vikes were in a bit of a pickle. The Mariners were coming in. They're a good team. It's a big moment in the Vikes season. They started Drapeau, 34 saves for this game. Drapeau is a big part of the weekend. So keep your eye on that. In the first period, Riley Braun opened the scoring from. Wait, this is the second period. The first period was going so fast. I kept the first and second period were blurring together to me because there was hardly any whistles. Right. The players were ripping around. In the second period, the Vikes got 2 goals. Riley Braun and Keenan Eddy, they were both goals off of rebounds. Yes. Shots from Gattenby, scramble in front of the net, Braun scored, and then a power play goal from Eddy. That made it 2-0 after 2 for the Vikes. Remember those plays?
Oh, I do. It was, I think we made a comment. If you go back to the hockey TV broadcast, you can hear in the first, maybe even 8 minutes, it was just nonstop play-by-play. There wasn't even an opportunity for Matt to jump in and say something. I couldn't catch my breath. It was just a flurry of action right in the beginning, and there was no whistles. Great play by both goalies, I'd say, especially in the first two periods. But wow, yeah, that was a crazy first period, which didn't seem to slow down. Even going into that second period, it was just nonstop action.
That's right. The first period was about 30 minutes long in total. I'm pretty sure the first intermission was longer than the first period. Going to the third period, Brock Palmer scored. He got a rebound goal too.
Right.
That just goes to show that Kral and Drapeau were making the first saves in this game. They're both solid. Sure. Kral had 35 saves. The game was 2-1 for a while. Connor Nolan scored with 7.5 minutes remaining.
Yep. That was a huge goal.
The sixth of the year. And then Braun picked up a power play goal late in the third. The game was 3-1 for the Vikes, and the Mariners got a couple penalties at the end of the game, which negated their chance to get back into the game. The leaders for the Vikes, Nolan with 4 points, Braun 3 points, Gattenby with 2 assists. So that's kind of how the score sheet looks for game 1 Friday night in Victoria.
It was a great game. My excitement was, bleeding through the broadcast. I was just losing my marbles with that game. It was just I hate to give a negative light to it, but obviously with the result being what it is, it's not, has no emotional effect to it. But at the beginning of the game, I said, like, if this team doesn't find a way to either put up a good game or to win, and I'm talking about the Vikes, the hopes for the rest of the season are very low. It was a huge game at the right time with, SFU and the Lakers had that pretty good tight, lead over the first and second position in the standings. But the Mariners were right there, and they had a really good start to the season, had some really good games against SFU. So, knowing this, if you're the Vikes and you take a huge loss to that VIU Mariners team, your hope for the season is not above, second last. So I knew how urgent it was for them to come out with a huge performance, and they did. They were one of the biggest themes that stuck out to me in that game was the neutral zone trap of the Vikes. They were just finding a way to either lift the sticks of the Mariners or just to be in every single passing lane. Almost in the first 15 minutes, I found it was impossible. Not impossible, but the Mariners were having a really hard time 5-on-5 trying to get that puck into the Vikes. And, unless there was a change, a line change or something that, opened it up. But other than that, they were really strong defensively.
Yes.
Just made it that much harder for those that talented, Mariners team to just start buzzing around. And they were like, they showed they flexed, that Mariners team, like Dunlop and Palmer, and Rouser, they were all over it, and Morton. But just a hard-working Vikes team made it really hard for them.
Yeah, Drapeau was definitely star of the weekend. But for me, further to your point about the sound defensive play of the Vikes, I think the Vikes found something with the pairing of Gattenby and Von Schonberg.
Oh, yeah, big time.
They were on a mission against that first line for the Mariners. That first line of the Mariners is renowned across the league. Like, they were the top players in the league, and they hold them to 1 goal on that Friday night. They hold the Mariners to 3 goals over the whole weekend. So I just think that
bright sign of the future.
Yeah, just Gattenby as a leader and a captain for the Vikes. I hadn't really noticed it as much until this weekend.
Yes,
just the determination that he was going to lead the team to stand up against these guys, against the Mariners. So shout out to Gattenby and Von Schonberg against that first line.
Yeah, last week I said I was hoping that big blowout against the Logan Lake Miners was going to create some confidence and, some esteem with their own skills and what they were capable of, especially guys like Gattenby, and allowed them to open it up. So when they go into, a big game like this, they're still feeling it. They're still, they're coming off of a good note last time they're on the ice. And that's what, I thought it could translate into a really hard fought game. And that's exactly what it did. 2 hard fought games. And I guess we can move on to Saturday's game on November 26th. Vikes went over to NANAIMO, did the little doubleheader where one's at home, one's away, and they took a W in regulation 3-2 as well. And the story on this one was Drapeau, if I'm not mistaken, Matt, who has a really good analysis of this one. He was paying attention.
That's right. I always do.
Much, yes.
I put my hockey glasses on and take a look at this game. Drapeau made 42 saves. Crawl was good in this game. The Vikes went down to the Mariners rink and won 3-2. In the first period, we on Friday night, it was that top line of the Vikes. They were showing up as like, we're one of the top lines in the BCIHL. Connor Nolan leads that. This game, it's the secondary scoring for the Vikes that show up. 1-0 Brandon Voss. He got the first goal from Lucas Thompson and a Gattenby again. That was right away, opened the scoring. Palmer wrist shot makes it 1-1 from Jones and Beauchamp. Brian Magic knocks one in from Withy. Withy was tough this weekend. I wouldn't want to get in his way.
Yeah.
Arbuckle got an assist too. Garrett Dunlop, he scored this is all in the first period, by the way. Garrett Dunlop made it 2-2. Garrett Dunlop hit the post 3 or 4 times this weekend, finally gets a goal.
Finally.
That was on the power play. So after one, it was 2-2. Voss and Magic on the score sheet for the Vikes going into the second period. What do you think of those apples, Reese?
Oh, you love to see it. And a lot of those scorers for the Vikes were all players who definitely deserved one the night before. They were all over it, doing many things right, especially offensively, but not to mention along the boards and in the neutral zone, like I mentioned earlier. Yeah, just another huge statement. Maybe one take I could kind of feel from the Mariners maybe during that first game on Friday was that top line, when they're not able to get all the goals, that secondary scoring is not looking that hot, and not a lot of those guys are getting on the board. So one thing that you like to see with the Vikes, right, is that first night, those young freshman stars who are capable of offense, and we've seen that, Bron Spears and Nolan.
Yes.
Once they didn't produce, but they weren't the scorers in the second game on the second night of the doubleheader. And would you look at that secondary scoring, right? So that just shows depth. It shows that this team can push the envelope even more in these standings, which is just something really interesting to look at now. The standings, after last weekend compared to before, it's very, very different, and it's creating a lot of different narratives for the next semester.
Yeah, you're right, Reese. We liked from the Mariners, Ron Wilkie and Norman. We liked a few of their forwards, but you're right, they weren't on the score sheet. When you go down to that game too, it's Voss, Magic. In the second period, in a 2-2 game, Lucas Thompson, he gets his first ever BCIHL goal, I heard. I saw the goal. He comes down the wall. He does a Brock Palmer impression where he snaps it in from the top of the circle. But he just hesitated and had what a shot he made. It beat Crawl. Surprised everyone and surprised the wonderful broadcasters down there. It was 3-2 after 2. In the third period, it was the Drapeau show. He secured the win. There was a couple penalty kills. One crazy save with 14 minutes left where a 2-on-1 where Drapeau slid across on his stomach.
Wow.
I'll put that highlight of that one on Instagram.
Absolutely.
And they end the game on the penalty kill too. So the Vikes were holding on for dear life for that second win.
Yep.
But you know what?
They did it.
I don't want to overreact too much because it's only 6 games into this season, not even at the halfway. But 2 wins this weekend is a big changer to the narrative of the season for the Vikes. They're now 3-3. They could have been 1-5. So the Vikes are meaning business right now. You know what I'm saying, Reese?
Oh, absolutely. And there's a lot of other weekend narratives that kind of, came about. Best line in the league. They were able to get shut down, not completely shut down. They still, like you mentioned earlier, they hit 1 million posts. That was something I kind of failed to mention when we were talking about that first Friday game. Yeah, they were. The thing is if it was another night, the score would have been definitely closer. There was a lot of unlucky breaks for that Mariners team, but Vikes still come out with that win. And one thing that proves their stamina and their, longevity in between that 60-minute game is they find a way to keep that 3-2 lead and lead it into a victory in regulation, which is just huge. It shows you the work ethic of that team. And like I said, these were 2 statement games. And if they could get one in regulation, both for the Vikes, then it's going to, yeah, like I said earlier, it's gonna make other teams look at the Vikes very differently, which is essentially what the whole point of this season was. Coming off of a season, I seem to
Yes.
mention it almost every episode. SFU just dominating the league last year, and just to create a little bit more, comparison, a little bit more tighter rivalry between the teams that aren't SFU, it's just gonna create a crazy atmosphere for the playoffs come the spring.
Yes, I agree. Now the way the Vikes are looking, solid goaltending,
Yep.
defensive leadership from Gattenby going up, and now the emergence of that line. We have the Mariners line, which we regard as a top line. We have the Hilton and Wicks combo for SFU. Does the Vikes top line compete on that elite level in the league? It kind of looks like they might be popping up there.
I definitely think so.
With that crew.
Yeah. And I think it took all these games that they've played so far. Like, I think the Vikes at the beginning of the season and the Vikes at this point right now are very two different teams. And that was a prediction made by, Harry had mentioned it at the beginning of the season, and even some of the coaches. One of the things they said is they want to prove that this is not going to just be a year where you can make the prediction for the standings, going in, just going based off last year, right? They want this Vikes team to be a statement team. And, obviously every team will want to do good, not obviously, but it's a little different for this Vikes team. They've had underwhelming seasons for the last couple of years, and they think with a lot of the heat coming into this team, obviously with the freshmen, that there's just no reason why they shouldn't be competing for that top 3, top 2 spot.
I think they frustrated the Mariners this weekend, especially Friday. Palmer takes a minor penalty right at the end of the game out of frustration. Drapeau, they hit the post, but it's not the net. It's still Drapeau's in the way of it, even if it hits the post. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, of course.
That's a deep hockey thought for you right there. A deep analysis.
Yeah.
Good job by the Vikes to frustrate the Mariners. They'll be back though. This is 2 of the 4 regular season games they'll play.
Right.
And I was talking to you about this, Reese, off of the show. They can't lose the season series to the Mariners now. You know what I mean?
That's true. So good point. Yeah.
They can come up and tie if they can take a couple off SFU. They could get, because is it true? I think each team they're going to play 4 times against one another.
Yeah.
You look at it in a little bit of a baseball breakdown here.
Mm-hmm.
So now they got 2 against the Mariners in the bank and 1 against the Miners, with an important game coming against the Lakers. So,
yes.
Hey, we're all about overreacting, but
yes,
you kept saying statement games.
Yes.
It felt like that to me. That's what I'm getting at.
Oh, 100%. It was a message from the Vikes to the rest of the league, and the Mariners had their time to do that only a couple weeks ago. You can also check out on this YouTube channel here a couple episodes ago. The title was Mariners Make a Statement, and they definitely had their time. They were playing very good games against SFU and had some good results come out of it. But here's the Vikes' turn, right? Here's the Vikes' turn to make a big statement, and even bigger opportunity for that. Moving on is that huge game this Friday. But before that, let's touch on something that we did last week. We did a little bit of a game. We did some over-under where Matt came at me with some kind of betting odds, some scenarios, and I would have to go, is it going to be over? Is it going to be under? And we got the results for that, just going based off of the weekend. So yeah, we'll let Matt read it out for you. And we'll hand you the results and we'll talk about it a little bit.
Okay, everybody out there, give a round of applause for Reese. If you're driving, take it easy. Just say good job. 3 team fates for Reese. Let's see exactly how he did. Total wins for the Vikes, 1.5. Reese said over. They win. Answers 2.
Yeah.
1 in the win column. They got 2 wins.
Right off the bat, that's huge. I mean, I thought it was a little bit of a hot take to say that they were going to take 2 W's.
It was.
But they did. I felt one of them was going to be an OT. I thought, it was going to be a lot different from what actually happened. But here we are. Yeah, it's 2 wins over the weekend against the Cross Island rivals. So absolutely gigantic for the Vikes on that one. But let's move on to the next.
Total goals for the Vikes, 6.5. Reese is feeling confident. He goes over. Another winner. They got 7. Just by the hair on your chin.
Look at that. That is a hot take, and it worked out. I had a feeling there was going to be some scoring.
The second game was 3-2. You called an overtime goal. That felt like it.
Yes.
Jones assists for the Miners, 2.5. You said under. That's a loss. He gets 3 assists.
And I'll never make that mistake again. Ethan Jones looks great over the weekend. It's hard to miss him. He's all over it. So I'm definitely not gonna, underestimate Ethan Jones from that Mariners team because he is flying off the wing every game. I've seen him.
Yeah, and the puck goes off the bar a few times.
Yep.
Probably on Jones's points. Here's one we had kind of a head-to-head with Gavin Rouser and Brandon Voss. Yes. These are the 4x4 players for the teams, including Cherwalk too, and Hermary, the kind of the physical presence, the spiritual presence. I don't know.
I'd say experience. That is aligned with experience and great two-way effort. And they're not gonna shy away from physicality. Number one, and number two, they're not gonna not work hard. You know what I mean? They're not gonna sit. You're not gonna see them coasting on the ice. These are guys who are in it every single time. They're shifted. They're absolutely everywhere.
Now that you got Drapeau playing, well, you always want to protect your goalie, but you can't let Rouser go in there and hit your goalie. Yeah. So you said Rouser would score and Voss wouldn't, but that's wrong. You flip them. So you took 2 losses there. Voss scored the opening goal of the second game. Rouser did not score. Let's move on. Yep.
I did real quick. I did have a feeling Rouser was going to get shut down, and not because of any lack of skill or any lack of quality on his part, but rather especially over the exhibition series that we had 2 months back, Rouser was all over the Vikes. He was everywhere. He was creating a lot of havoc for the back line. I swear there was a game where he had like 4 breakaways in a period or something. Like he was just flying by them. And I think that's something that they took to film and went, all right, listen, it's no secret that this guy's got wheels. Let's tighten up. Let's make it just difficult for him, keep him on the outside. And that's something they definitely successfully did. And that was something I predicted. If you're going to win these games or at least stay competitive, you got to find a way to shut that guy down because he is fast. And there's only so much you can do to shut down guys like Dunlop and the rest of them.
Yes. Gavin Rouser takes going through the wall for your teammates literally.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
He does.
Absolutely.
I'm a fan of Voss. I'm glad you got a goal. Yes. I like the star players. Connor Nolan, when he skates down the ice, it's like a tornado. There's like loose leaf flying in the air. It's like his jersey is flying behind him. Right. Nolan, but Voss stands out to me too. So good to see a goal go in for Voss, Magic, and Thompson, the role players. Here we go. Power play goals for the Vikes over the weekend. 1.5 reset over. That's a winner. It was 2. Winner.
Yes.
Starts for Jacob Drapeau, 0.5 reset over. He played both games.
2. Yeah, exactly.
Any thoughts on that one, Reese?
I knew he was definitely going to play 1. That's why I had to go over. I knew that Pilon had a great trip over in Oregon. He played well in between the pipes there, and then they was it Pilon or I think it was Drapeau who started last game, right? The 11-0 win.
Miners, yes. Drapeau is on a 3-game winning streak with the Vikes.
So they put him in, and it was a little shock to me because I was like, oh, well, Pilon played well in Oregon. I figured they'd start him. They go with the right decision. They get him a shutout, and then, here we are 3 wins later. So definitely the right decision by the coaching staff of the Vikes.
Drapeau maybe even outplayed Crawl. We like him too. Saves by Mariners goalies, 56. I guess you can't. You're supposed to, with these games, 56.5,
Yeah.
But that's all right. We'll chalk that up to a new game.
Yep.
That one's on me. Stick tap to everybody out there. Reese says over. The answer is 59. So another winner. 59 saves.
Had to be more. Mariners. I knew they were going to.
They did a good job getting shots
on. They did. They really did. Yeah. I knew they were going to pour it on. That is not a shocker for me that turned out to be a win.
They get outshot in the Mariners dome and come away with the win. And then on home ice on the Friday night, shots are pretty even, 39-35 in favor of the Vikes. They outshot them. Okay, here we go. A couple more of these before we get out of here. More points by a defenseman. Let me say this again. Deep breath. More points by defenseman total.
Yes.
Mariners or Vikes. That makes sense?
Yes. Yeah.
I got it that time.
Got it.
Reese Reese says the Mariners. Reese likes the Mariners defense. He takes the loss on that because the Vikes got 5 points from the defense to the Mariners 1 point. How about those apples? Literally.
That is crazy to me. I thought that this was going to be another display by guys like Morton, Beauchamp. That they were going to come out and do what they do best, which is play really good two-way offensive hockey as a defenseman. They're really good along that blue line. They're great on the power play, and I expected them to do good. But another thing that the Vikes did well is they found a way to shut them down. And like you mentioned earlier, great scenes by the Vikes defenseman. You love to see that. Really turning up. Gattenby, I mean, he's turning out to be the player that everybody knows he is.
Right.
That Von Schoenberg partnership is really doing him good. So, yeah, hopefully it continues for the rest of the season.
Yeah, Von Schoenberg, he laid the body on Palmer late in the game on Saturday. He does good when he's going like that. He took a couple minors, but because of Von Schoenberg, because of his agility, he kind of gets mistaken for a playmaking defenseman, which he is.
Yeah.
But he actually hangs in there nice and tough physically too.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
So let's watch for these guys this season. That stood out to us for sure. So Reese goes 5-4 in the game. Reese, do you have any comments about your victory here?
I think the ones that I won with were all the hottest takes, in my opinion. A lot of the things that I thought, weren't going to happen seemed to happen. So it's pretty shocking results, but it was definitely good to do that for such an important 2 games for both teams. So
well done, Reese. I made a friendly wager that the Vikes would get a 4-goal period. Now that's a little bit out of left field, but we're seeing offensive breakthroughs. That's what I'm, coming out of the minors games. They had 2 goals in a period 3 times. So, hey, for what that's worth, in my defense, I'm going down with 1 loss in our little over-under game.
Yes.
Exactly. Great results for
a moment of silence for that. All right. Well, the most important thing that we got to get to next is another gigantic game for the Vikes. It's this Friday, and it's against the Okanagan Lakers.
Yeah.
Now, Lakers are obviously sitting in that second place position. They're 4-2. Vikes, we're still 2 games in hand with the Mariners and Lakers, right? They still have to play. Yeah, so 2 games in hand, and they have the Lakers coming to town, and this will be a home game for the Vikes to end off the semester. And it's another huge game. Again, if the Vikes can pull off another win in this scenario, it's just I think that might put them ahead. No, that would just make them tied. Oh no, they actually have an OT loss. Okay, see, that's where you got to see this stuff. So the Vikes would be just 1 point behind the Mariners. So it wouldn't make a distinct change in the standings right away, but it'll lead them into a very confident second semester coming up, especially hosting that tournament, the Tom Harris Cup. So yeah, absolutely huge game. You're definitely going to want to tune into that one. If you were excited about last week's game, this one is something to write up about as well.
That'll be the first time we get our eyes on the Lakers. We've heard about some other players.
We have
Nemeth and Jay Thompson throwing up a bunch of saves against SFU. Remember that guy?
Yep.
We're going to look for their defense people back there. What kind of team is this Lakers team coming in? Victoria's feeling pretty good about themselves. They just squeaked out a couple wins against their brothers there, the Mariners.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, these guys are fighting all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And so they did a good job. We were like, we kept saying all season, the Vikes are going to get back in the race. The Vikes are going to get back in the race eventually. And they did it.
Yeah.
So really good for them. They dug deep, the leadership of the team. And Lakers, what are you going to watch for with the Lakers coming in? Anything come to mind?
They seemed like a well-rounded team. They seem like their chemistry's up. They definitely compete high with SFU, and they compete with obviously the Mariners and stuff. So I think there's going to be a little bit more preparation going into this one than last week. You wanted to keep the stamina high for the Mariners. You wanted the mentality to be strong, but you wanted to be fit. You know, you don't want to waste all your energy on one game and then end up taking a loss the second one. So that was the mentality going in. But lucky for the Vikes, this week there's only one game for them. It's not the doubleheader. The doubleheader is actually for the Lakers, who face off against the VIU Mariners on Saturday. But that Lakers team is going to come in looking to be prepared for 2 games, and that Vikes team is obviously going to only have 1 game to prepare for, and that should completely change the mentality going into the game. I think they're going to try to come at them with a flurry of offense and really make it hard in the neutral zone, just like they did against the Mariners. So a lot of high hopes. Don't want to make any predictions for this one. We'll leave the predictions for other games. I'm going to stay out of I'm going to put my predictor's cap, keep it in the closet, because I am
exactly. Let's enjoy this one.
Yeah, we're going to want to enjoy this one, and also it is meaningful to mention the SFU Red Leafs will be heading out to Alaska again they get their 2 exhibition games mid-season. They're making a nice little trip up to Alaska and playing against the UAA Sea Wolves. So they get a doubleheader, one on Friday, one on Saturday. That should be a good time for them, and it'll be good to obviously get them prepared for the rest of the season. So
you're taking a swim with the Wolves up there.
Oh yeah, the Sea Wolves.
That's a great one. They got L'Orange Ice Wolves. That's the one in Saskatchewan.
Oh, okay.
So they got the Sea Wolves over there in Alaska and the Ice Wolves at L'Orange.
Yep, that's true. And they got the Ice Dogs in my hometown, Niagara Falls, Ontario.
Whoa!
Look at that.
Here we go. We're howling at the moon.
Yeah.
You ever hear this thing about sometimes hockey people say this kind of stuff? If you're sound defensively and you get the puck out, the offensive chances will come. Yes. You ever hear that kind of thing? Like if 100%. You're responsible, then eventually the offense will come. Is that true?
Yeah. Oh, it's true.
That's what I saw with the
best
Vikes.
Defense is your best offense. You know.
Okay.
Absolutely, right.
Your best offense is your defense. Is that what?
You can or vice versa, however you want. It's true. Well, because it is true. You can look at teams like, we can go back in time a little bit to I don't know if it was 2015 or 2016. Might have been 2016 when the Denver Broncos won the Super Bowl and they played against that absolute wagon of Cam Newton's Carolina Panthers. That was when he was dabbing on everybody. Broncos team had Peyton Manning, so obviously they had great offensive options. So it's not like they were void of any offense, but their defense was unbelievable. They had a young Von Miller. They had, and the list goes on from there. So the point is if you have a team that can be a wagon defensively, or if you have a team that can be a wagon offensively, you can really find your way to just balance that out in the biggest games. And that's something you'll notice too about NHL playoff hockey. And this is something that I want to throw out there a little bit. Just as we wrap up this BCIHL, little roundup. When it comes to playoff hockey, it's different from basketball and it's different from other sports, as matchups, in my opinion, are not the biggest thing. It's usually star power. What type of game-changing, game-breaking talent do they have on that team? And that can pretty much create where your prediction's going to go for the result of that game. But when it comes to the NHL, you can see scenarios like when the Habs go to the Stanley Cup final in 2021, where they just simply matched up against every team good. You could make arguments like, oh, well, if the Leafs were there, they would have went through this. They would have, went straight to the finals too. I don't think so. The reason being is I don't think they match up well to some of the other teams along the ways. I think Vegas would have destroyed that year's Leafs team. It wouldn't have been close. They would have scored a couple goals here and there, but the second you lock down those big offensive names, there's not much options, right? So that's why when it comes to hockey, matchups are so important. So same thing with this BCIHL season. We can talk about the Red Leafs being a wagon and, in the regular season, they just dominated each team, but there's little things that we like to point out in these little episodes here of intricate details in the game that could lead to problems for the team later on, or could lead to benefits. So it's like, I remember the Vikes had a really good turnout against SFU. They took, I think it was one of the first games of the season. They played well, but they took a loss. So those little things you could say, okay, well, maybe they don't match up in this scenario. Maybe their defense don't match up to their defense, maybe so on and so forth. When you say those things, that's what creates the excitement for any playoff matchup, right? Because you can even say if the, Logan Lake Miners just really get on a crazy tear for the next semester, and then they play the Vikes,
Yeah.
and next thing you know, the Vikes take a loss because they just found a way to match up with these teams, right? And they learn.
Right.
So yeah, matchups are very emphasized in the game of hockey, I think, more than any other sport, and it's going to turn out, what it turns out to be with the BCIHL, and obviously produce some good hockey. I can guarantee.
The Vikes game is more complete.
Yes.
Before they were scratching at scoring chances, and because of their skill, they got a few goals. But now they're playing, their goaltending is good. They're playing complete defense. And it comes to the end of the game, and you're like, well, they just won 4-1. It's not, you don't even really notice it, but the pucks are going in because of all that effort.
Exactly.
And I remember that Super Bowl, by the way, too, the amazing defense.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yep.
Reese,
it was like young Von Miller or in his prime Von Miller. I don't know. I don't know how old he is. He seems like he could be 50 or seems like he'd be 28. I don't know.
Football is happening on in the corners today on this snow day here. Big time.
Yes. Yeah. So I guess we went over everything we could go over.
I think we did.
Yeah.
This is the last game before the break.
Last game before the break. We got a couple interviews that we're trying to get going for the next few shows, but we've got a couple ideas and a couple things you could look out for on this channel during the break.
Yeah.
We might do a watch along for the 08 championship when UVic, took the BCIHL. So maybe we could watch that.
Cool.
Or, we could go back, even watch the Lakers game, or even watch this past Mariners game, just little clips of it, and just kind of give a breakdown of what we think it could mean for implications into the remaining games of the second semester, right? So keep us posted. No, we'll keep you posted. That's what we'll do. We'll keep you guys posted. You check out our Instagram, ran by Matt Good. You check out our YouTube, ran by me. Check out our Twitter, ran by both of us. Or you could just approach us at the ENH Stewart Complex when doing commentary, even mid play, just slap me and be like, I have something to tell you about the In the Corners podcast. But
right on.
Obviously, stay tuned with Hockey TV if you guys want to see the games live, and obviously catch us in the broadcast booth for all Vikes homes game and Vikes home games. And Matt, you have anything else you want to add?
Nope. Thank you very much, Reese, for the visit today. Everybody out there listening, thanks for your support. I'm happy to be here, part of the season. The Vikes are 3-3 now, and we're going to have a fun ride into the break. Lakers time.
Lakers time. Let's see it. Big game. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
See you, buddy.
Have a good one. Stay tuned. See you.